Hey guys, what's up? This is going to be the last episode of this PvT series on the channel for a while. And I'm just going to let you guys know right now, this is not going to be a very important video because I feel like I covered most of what I wanted to say in those first 4 episodes. But there are a few things I missed, and I do also want to show you a different composition of units and a different scenario that you might find yourself in going against, all that good stuff. So I figured for those of you that sort of want to see a little bit more and want a little more proof that this build is viable, then this video is for you. And in the bottom right, as the red Protoss, we have myself, OP Primetime. In the top left, as the blue Terran, we have the blue Terran. And I don't know how to say that name. It's like Dullahan? Is that it? I don't know. So he's our blue Terran, and before I sort of skip ahead, I just want to show you guys this cool little wall-in that our blue Terran buddy is doing. He's actually going to completely wall in this ramp with just 2 buildings, which is pretty cool. This sort of denies scouting into the base to some degree. I mean, it's easier, obviously, to see the add-on. And also, just a couple of the things I want to note is you do get a worse sort of choke point with your units because you just don't want to keep him back here. You want to keep him outside the wall. So if I were to hit him with like a 4-gate, then he might just flat out lose, but still sort of a different wall-in. Got to give him some props, I suppose. Anyway, with that said, let's go ahead and skip on through this intro. As usual, double gas on 16, and you can see I'm gonna go ahead and scout, see the wall. I don't really see anything, so I'm gonna go ahead and leave. And I even think as early as 3 minutes and 30 seconds into the game, it's almost not a bad idea just to leave a worker on the tower, because if you're playing a map with a spawn position where that they have to cross this path to get to your base, at least that's like the quickest way possible. It's good to have the tower, because if they're doing an early rush, then at least you have that vision. So looks like I'm gonna ward away this SCV, but he's gonna get the scout he wants. He knows that I haven't expanded yet. But seeing a probe to sentry, that probably tells him that I am gonna look to expand shortly hereafter. But of course, we all know I never expand early, unless I'm playing against Zerg, and then it's still not that early. But we'll see that eventually. We will see. Don't worry. Now, we did see our Terran opponent go for an early expansion of his own, and so far it looks like all of our opponents have done that. And, you know, actually, I hate to just show this early expand style, because you guys are probably wondering, well, what happens if they rush you? So, even though I have... Actually, I'll get to that in a second. The reason I don't really have any good games where people rush me is because just people don't rush me, so... That's sort of, I'm abusing the fact that people do not rush by getting this tech rush out for myself. But when I do come across a good game where I get rushed by my opponent, I'll show it. I'll put it on the channel so you guys can check it out. Typically, I have been proxy barracksed one time, and the way to see if that's coming or not is when you're in their base scouting at the beginning, you'll see no barracks. So just prepare for a proxy barrack rush. So, or like a two racks rush, something like that. Either way, you do want to chrono out some stalkers is basically your best response. And having a sentry, having that first sentry is not a bad idea, just so you can buy yourself some more time with the force fields. Anyway, I'm gonna speed this up a little bit. Looks like I'm moving out across the map right now. Looks like I've expanded about the 8-10 minute mark. A couple force fields go down, yada yada yada. Zealots doing their job, hacking away, and go ahead and save everything. Now, if you can only save one unit, let's say he's in position and for whatever reason, you're basically, it's a terrible drop zone, but you did it anyway by accident. The most important unit to save is the sentry, so definitely, if all else fails, save the sentry. Now, I do want to say right now, if you see only one bunker but supply depots, this is actually a pretty strong wall-in, despite the fact that it's only one bunker. So just don't take this too lightly and appreciate it for the fact that it is a wall, at the very least. A nice little useless force field goes down. Probably hurts me more than it helps me. If you look in the units lost tab as of right now, it looks like I am ahead by a little bit, but that'll probably even up pretty relatively closely. And if you see right now, I'm just getting ready to pick up the sentry and get the hell out of here. And there you can see the units lost is pretty even. So we've seen this first big push win games. We've seen this first big push do very little bit of damage, and in this particular game, you might think that, well, I'm kind of behind because my expo's late, the units lost is even, and this build is awful. But 20 workers killed. Units tab. Earlier I was further ahead than that, workers tab, but I'm still holding a lead. Not by much because of the mules, but it's still a lead. And now let's go ahead and bring this into normal speed. As you can see, early double gas, very important. And the basic concept of this build is, first you get Colossus, you make them think that you're getting Colossus and they need Vikings. Then you get Immortal, Sentry, Stalker. Those are your 3 core units. And the idea is to have all ranged units and just to simply split their army in half when the fight commences. That way all of your units are shooting and only half of theirs are shooting. That's the ideal situation. And the other benefit of playing it out like this is that you're hoping that they overcompensate in Vikings, and in which case they sort of have a useless air support Viking army that they don't really need. But if you look at the follow-up, as I said, I prefer to go double forge, even though this game was a little bit even though I would say I was ahead after that attack. I go for a double forge. You do want to get Twilight Council before your upgrades finish, and I don't have mine going down. Hopefully I get Twilight Council soon so I don't look too stupid. There it goes. Sweet. Awesome pass to me. Last game we saw 6 gateways. This game we see 5 gateways. I would say, although, you know what, I was going to say, if you chrono out your robo, you can sort of afford to only get 5 warp gates. But the other thing is, I also did go for early 2-2, or early double upgrades, I should say. So that's sort of why I'm only being able to afford to produce off 5 warp gates. But it looks like I am going to add on... Wait, did I have 6? Okay, now what I've been saying for the last 10 minutes makes no sense. Honestly, if you're doing double upgrades, you can afford with 5, but if you're afraid of drops, the more warp gates, the better. So, yeah, pretty simple. Pretty simple stuff there. Now we can see I do have 2 Colossus out. I do not have Thermal Lance upgraded. If you're going to continue building Colossus, you should get that upgrade. In early Templar Archives, kind of interesting there. And if you look at the supply count, he is up by 20, which is huge at this point in the game. But here's the but. Even though this is the mid game, even though this is where Terran is favored, the helpful thing about defending is A, you get this choke, B, reinforcement time for Terran is quite long, and C, because A, B, and C is a nicer segue into the battle than just saying A and B. So there's that. And if you look at the upgrade count, it is an even game right now. Now, he doesn't want to engage quite yet, and I'm not sure why. By the way, I did do a little bit of a Zealot drop. Zealots are, honestly, if you ever have a surplus of minerals and you have a lot of warp gates, just swarm Zealots into their base. It's so annoying as a Terran player, and you can do so much damage. Now, because you're being pressed at the front gates, you do need those warp gates to warp in units back here. Now, although my 2 Colossus go down pretty quickly, my force fields are okay, and actually if I had more Colossus I would have shredded the little ball of units right there, but oh well. Now, I'm not sure what the supplies were before this attack, but you can basically see... Now, the point of me showing this video is for you to see, this is the mid-game, this is sort of the later mid-game, but mid-game nonetheless. And this is where Terran is supposedly the strongest. But you just saw a Gateway Immortal Tech army crush a Terran army with just 2 Colossus with no range.